Myself and the brothers were very happy that justice was going to be administered. And remember, the special prosecutor is not the person who indicts anyone, but they're the one who brings the facts to the grand jury. And so it was ultimately up to the grand jury to decide whether or not to indict. My understanding is that everyone who was originally involved was reinvestigated. And that's, again, that's something I know because I work here, I live here, I see the same people. The Smollett case may come and go, but I'm going to run into the same clerks, the same state's attorneys, the same court coordinators. So we were all able to kind of coalesce and see, everyone who had anything to do with this case was going to be interviewed. Why is this not double jeopardy? Because he was never in jeopardy in the first place. So looking at this from a very simplified context, if we, the government, somehow puts you in peril, we make you go through things that you reasonably rely on. You get ready, you plead guilty, for example, all the consequences that come in with pleading guilty to a felony, for instance, or you go to trial. Though that's what we mean, that's what the law means when they say you've been already placed in jeopardy. In this case, there isn't anything that would be remotely close to that. He was arrested, he was arraigned, and then he was let go. So there was no jeopardy there. And I've said this from the beginning, there was nothing in it for them to tell what happened to them and what they knew, other than them wanting to be honest and truthful. They felt remorseful. They regretted their participation in what Jussie wanted them to do. So at the end of the day, as a lawyer, you have to advise your client, this is what is in your best interest. I hope that this somehow teaches all of us that there's a minority population that can be really impacted by what happened, how one story can hurt a lot of people. There was a lot of divisiveness that came from this. The MAGA hats and the implications to President Trump, it just swelled this political animosity amongst people. I don't want to see that. I want people to heal. I want people to get along. I would rather have people have some kind of cohesion about what happened instead of just arguing. If you read on Twitter, people are just attacking each other and being just really nasty. I don't think it serves any purpose.
Hey, NBC News viewers, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.